This video is sponsored by Grammarly. Theodore Roosevelt is widely considered one of the most productive human beings in history. He wrote and published 40 books, was an avid sportsman, and was a police commissioner and assistant secretary in New York City and the Navy. I first started taking an interest in Theodore Roosevelt as a historical figure from the Art of Manliness blog, and that blog inspired me to pick up his biography written by Edmund Morris called The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, which has since become one of my favorite non-fiction style books. And the way Roosevelt's life has translated is so remarkable and full of boisterous vigor that it seems too unusual to have been a real person. For instance, he had asthma as a child and was just very sickly, and he was told by a doctor to not have a career that would be physically taxing, becoming something like a naturalist or a professor. But he hated the idea of that so much that he said he spat out the wormwood and told the doctor that if he had to live that way, he would rather die. Moreover, in comparison to his friends and brothers, when his mother would make them study as children, like mathematics or whatever it might be, he had such a competitive spirit in him that he would outwork his siblings, and he would study despite getting terrible headaches for much longer and with much greater intensity, just because he was a competitor at heart. I gotta be honest, I love the idea of Theodore Roosevelt, and so for this video, I'm actually going to spend maybe not 7 days, maybe more like 10 days, trying to adopt the mindset, the schedule of Theodore Roosevelt as best as I can into my own life. Let's see how this week goes. In most videos like this, the emphasis is placed on the exact time the person does something and what they do at that time. If I were to follow that model, then my day should end at midnight and start at 7 a.m. Which, to be fair, is only mildly different from my current routine. With one source though, I found that Roosevelt's schedule was broken up into some very strange items. Lots of reciting speeches, historical works, dictating letters. I thought it would be more significant to address this challenge through a handful of tenets, philosophy that Roosevelt embodied, and to incorporate these tenets into my day. The first is ridiculous intensity for a couple hours a day. When Roosevelt was in college, he was known for not spending really long hours studying compared to some other students. In fact, his schedule for schoolwork was only from 8:30 to 4:30, including time for classes, so he wouldn't study for comparatively that many hours. But it is said that those hours that he did study, he had dialed up the intensity of effort to 10. Cal Newport mentions this in his book Deep Work, the idea that Roosevelt's schedule was so fragmented that it didn't usually add up to a large number of total hours, but he would work with blistering intensity when he did work. And that was the key. He didn't have a lot of time, but the time he devoted, it was with profound effort to one task. Now, I'll admit it feels a little hokey to try to have Roosevelt's profound intensity while working, but it was a useful week to try it. This week at work, I had to learn a new software called Informatica. It didn't seem too complicated, but I definitely had some resistance doing my work this week, just because it was completely unfamiliar. Nevertheless, on day one, I buckled down and gave profound intensity a go for a few hours. Turns out it works. The next idea then is that of strenuous hobbies. The band loved boxing, riding horses, cold weather exposure, of course hiking. I don't do anything cool, to be honest. But I'm gonna seek out a strenuous hobby this week and see how it might affect my mindset or how much I might enjoy it.
Right here. Hard work, dedication.
All right.
I'll tell you one.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Tell me one
bit. Yeah.
Tell me one thing.
So, come straight out like that. Drop this knee. Boom. See that? Okay, now you need to breathe. So your muscles need air to breathe. Not like yeah, just like that. Right hand. There you go. Drop that knee. There you go. Yup. Yeah. Lights out, McLaurin. Hard work, dedication.
These quick little bouts of deep work where I do 3 hours of intense work where I just tell myself I'm working with greater intensity, it actually does work. It works to go extra hard. I've also just been allowing myself to work out in different spots a little more, at different vantage points, and that also feels more inspired. Overall, what I've loved about this schedule is like the additional variety. Rather than just being at home all day, I'm like trying other locations, a few new activities like kayaking. And so it's definitely been a more exciting week, albeit maybe a little bit more tiring. By this point, it definitely had become a gratifying feeling to try out so many new things, all the while continuing to practice that insane intensity at work for several hours. And surprisingly, I wasn't feeling too overwhelmed yet, and I'd say a large part of this had to do with Tenet 3, Roosevelt's love of nature. Now, I'm an indoor animal for the most part, but I made it an ambition to spend a little bit of time in nature each day this week. Putting in a lot more miles because this is such more of an inspired place to be exercising. I hope to keep this up for the next few months. Like I feel so much better. Like such a refreshing, amazing week. I'm telling you, man, you can be whatever you want to be in life. Intention is everything. I just decided I want to try more hobbies. I want to try doing more interesting things with my day and also be more intentional when I'm working, when I just work with greater intensity. Growing up, my dad would always tell me, and I'd always learned that, you should always sacrifice. You should sacrifice friendships, hobbies, relationships, so that you can work on your craft, so that you can be like really good. In my dad's perspective, the things that you should study more. Obviously, there's tremendous value in that, but also, if you do hobbies or life outside of work that is really invigorating, it actually amplifies your work. Like Roosevelt, he just went out there and did a lot of cool stuff. He probably found a lot of enthusiasm and hence productivity just because he kept life so exciting. And it falls on your shoulders to keep life exciting. Like I had not done a good job of keeping my life exciting, but man, this week has been really exciting.
So you've just been screaming into the mountains on these runs?
I've just been yelling poetry.
Okay.
Yo, is everything good? Why?
I'm writing an email to my boss. It's just, I don't know. It's tough.
Well, have you thought about using Grammarly?
Grammarly?
Grammarly. It's like this fantastic resource for helping you check your spelling and grammar. A big thank you to Grammarly for sponsoring this video. Grammarly's digital writing assistant helps 30 million people write more clearly and effectively every day. In fact, I use them for every YouTube script I write and for sending emails. They've got a free version with basic grammar and spelling suggestions, but upgrading to Grammarly Premium will save you so much more time so that you can feel confident that your writing is professional and compelling. Grammarly works seamlessly and is easy to integrate into your daily life as a browser extension through Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. Save yourself time with Grammarly Premium's vocabulary suggestions and make your writing more professional and compelling, using clarity suggestions to avoid repeating yourself and help get your message across, and lastly a tone detector which helps ensure that your tone is professional and compelling. Go to Grammarly.com/Captain Sinbad to sign up for a free account and get 20% off of Grammarly Premium today.
Grammarly.com/Captain Sinbad?
Yeah, just go to Grammarly.com/Captain Sinbad to get a great deal. I didn't expect to enjoy this challenge as much as I did, but here we are. This week has had more variety, connection with nature, inspired hobbies, and yet, despite these extracurriculars, was deeply productive. It's as if all of nature, its majesty and strength, seeped into my work and gave it new life. More courageous thinking, more swagger even. There was, however, one tenet left which I had failed to honor thus far, and that was the notion of taking risks. Genuine risks, moving on to the next mountain briskly and with dangerous intent. Time to become the man in the arena.